My next guest on the show was a police officer, Naval Special Warfare Instructor, SEAL operator, Vietnam vet, and an author. Welcome to the show, Billy Allmon.
Hello, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm honored that you're coming on. Your bio is really impressive. And for the viewers, kind of go over your background, where you grew up, what led you to want to become a Navy SEAL, or was that the first thing on your mind to, I want to be a SEAL, or was it something that just came about?
Well, when the funny story about me is this. I went to Tonawanda Senior High School. It's between Buffalo and Niagara Falls. And that's where I pretty much grew up, in upstate New York. And I was a swimmer, and I won a scholarship to Princeton. And I was going to go to college there. And it was summertime. It was a while before I was going to go, but I was walking down Main Street in Tonawanda, and I saw three of my swim team buddies in the Navy recruiting office. And I said, what are you guys doing here? We're joining the Navy. I go, yeah, no kidding. I said, but what are you going to be in the Navy? What are you going to do? And the naval recruiters stood up and said, they're going to be underwater demolition frogmen and work with explosives. And I said, whoa, that sounds so cool. Sign me up. So I threw away my scholarship, much to the dismay of my parents, and I enlisted in the Navy. I didn't know anything about SEALs at the time. It was just underwater demolition teams. And so I just went from there.
Oh, is there any notable guys that were in your BUDS class or anything?
Yeah, there was, I hate to talk about him too much because I fell out of favor with him, and I'll be kind in this interview with my words about him, but it was Jesse the Body Ventura, or Jim Janos is his real name, who was the governor of Minnesota. And but yeah, I guess he would stand out for people to know.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty heated stuff about him that I can't speak. I was never
No, I've had my words with him already. So
yeah, absolutely. No, that's awesome. Oh shit. The hell did I hit? Oh, sorry. The whole screen went black. What was the toughest part of BUDS for you, and why?
The toughest part of BUDS, basic underwater demolition SEAL training. What was the toughest part? With me, it was underwater demolition training at the time, but UDTRA. But anyway, I was in class 58, if everybody's wondering what class I was in of the SEALs out there. And started in class 57, got hurt, and moved me back to class 58. And so anyhow, the hardest part was eating the food. No, Hell Week will always be the hardest thing. It's 5 days pretty much without any sleep, and you start to hallucinate and due to lack of sleep. And so that's where everybody pretty much washes out, because it's physical, it's mental, it's scholastic, and you're doing all this stuff, with very little sleep, and it's all sleep deprivation. And and the instructors are always in your ear. Quit. You don't have to do this stuff. You can just quit. You're cold, you can quit. Tired, you can quit. Hungry, you can quit. Doesn't matter. You just quit. You can go on your own way, and you don't have to go through any of this stuff at all. You're just volunteering to do this anyway, so might as well just quit.
Just trying to get in your head.
Oh yeah, they try to get it in your head. It's a big mind game, but if you make up your mind from the onset that there's nothing they can do to you to make you quit, you'll make it. Of course, you got to be a little bit smart too, but you'll make it.
Yeah. No, I watched some of that, how they've got it online, some of the BUD stuff, and when they tie their hands behind their back and their feet, and I get super anxiety watching that, because I almost drowned in the Philippines scuba diving. So every time I see that, it just drives me crazy just watching it. So I can only imagine going through it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm scared of heights. I'm claustrophobic.
Really?
So go figure the career path I chose. But Yeah, every time we jump out of a plane, I'm scared as hell. And
Really?
after I'm falling down skydiving, I'm happy. I don't worry about nothing until it comes time to pull a chute, because I hope it opens. And so that's it. And but being underwater in the dark underneath a ship, that's pretty scary, and don't like that stuff either. And then being in the little mini subs we have, that they're very claustrophobic, and so you got to fight all your demons every time if you got any of those issues like I have. So you got to fight your demons, and hopefully you come out of it.
How do you calm yourself down? Because I never thought I was claustrophobic till I got in this. I had an MRI, and I've had one before, but it was a lot bigger. And the one they put in this time was a lot smaller, and they clamped my head down.
Yeah. I got to be sedated when I go to an MRI. When I fractured my skull in an accident, it was they put me in there, and I was flipping out, boy. I'll tell you. And then they pulled me back. They gave me a sedative to put me back in, but I can't do that stuff. That's way too tight. And it's like, I'll tell you, when we were working with the Germans, they lock in and out of submarines in the torpedo tube. So you swim inside the torpedo tube, and then they close the outer door, drain it, and then you bang with your knife, on the door, let them know you're in there. And then after they drain the water out, they open it up and you go inside. Well, they launch you out the same way. And I'll tell you what, there's nothing more claustrophobic than being inside a torpedo tube. And you try to concentrate on a lot of different things, and like you got gear with you, and I just fiddle with all my gear, everything, and reevaluate and start working equations in my head for explosives and stuff, and just try to occupy everything to take my mind off of where the hell I'm at.
Yeah, I don't think I could do it, man. I don't.
I say that to myself all the time.
Yeah, and the part that I didn't get, because they were doing I had a TBI in the military, and so that's what they were doing. They were locking me in. They put me in that tube. Exactly. I remember just closing my eyes, and they hand me this little squeezer, and she's like, "Oh, it'll only be 20 minutes," and I'm like, 20 minutes? Oh my God! So
that's a lifetime.
Yeah, and I'm laying there, and you thinking it's been 15 minutes already. And I come over I squeeze it. She, everything all right? I'm like, yeah, how long have I been here? She's like, 3 minutes. I'm like, oh my God.
It's an eternity.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine doing it. Now, how big is a torpedo? I've never seen one, honestly.
About, I would say a little more than 3 feet in diameter.
Oh, hell no. Ugh. Now, are y'all training all the time? Because like conventional.
If you're not overseas in combat, you're freaking training.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was about to ask you, what was like a normal day for a SEAL? Because being in the Army, you're back cleaning weapons, or you're dealing with dumbasses, or I'm sure that y'all ain't doing that kind of stuff. You're constantly, putting bullets down range or whatever.
You do there was a Marine captain that asked me one time when we were training out in the desert, and he said, "How many rounds do you guys go through?" And I says, "What do you mean, individually?" He goes, "Well, we could start there." I go, "Sometimes we'll go through about 3,000 rounds a day."
Holy
He goes, "Are you serious?" I said, "Yeah, I am very serious. It's about being extremely effective and accurate with your weapon." And so that's we do a lot of that. And we do a lot of shooting, do a lot of work with explosives, it's just, it's a lot of training all the time, because as you know, and I'm sure a lot of other military guys out there know, that shooting is a perishable skill. If you don't keep on it, you're going to lose it. I could probably go to the range today and I'd be all over the freaking target and be pissed off that I don't have a really tight group, and because what you did before, and it's just practicing putting the rounds down range.
Yeah. Now you're a Vietnam vet, and it's up to you, whatever you want to talk about. Any part of Vietnam you want to go over or talk about?
Well, I wouldn't go there for a vacation. Oh, it's open now. Might see somebody I knew at one time.
Yeah.
But, it's just, Vietnam was the Afghanistan of the day. But anyway, it was funny about a lot of things in Vietnam. There was a lot of trying to go to the right spot here. Anyway, it was a lot of good times and bad times. A beautiful country, sunsets super spectacular. I love the jungle environment. I still love it to this day. And though I've been in the desert and I've been in the mountains, around the world and stuff, but I'll tell you, the jungle for me was just so wonderful and beautiful, and mostly too because when everything got quiet, you knew the enemy was coming. It just all the insects stop, birds stop, everything's quiet. So it's a big key on things, that where the enemy is about. And it's the same thing with us, but a lot of mud down in the South Vietnam area in the Mekong Delta, and which is where most of us were, in the Mekong Delta area. And so a lot of different teams. I think there was 7 teams in country at the time, but then gearing down toward the end when I was there, it was just, you weren't doing missions that much. From the first time, you were doing missions every other day, because you'd split your team. You had 14 guys, so 7 guys would go one night, and then 7 guys would go the next night. So you're always every day doing something. You're helping out and stuff on your day off, getting ready for the other team. You would help them out and stuff, and so you're just constantly covering each other and leapfrogging and stuff like that. How everything goes. So yeah.
I went with my uncle. He's a Vietnam vet. He spent 30 years in, and we went to the Special Warfare Museum up in Fort Bragg, and they have an actual punji pit. It's like and oh my God, I couldn't imagine.
They used to put feces on there, human feces, so you would get the infection and stuff like that on there when you go in the pit or step into it. And I'll tell you a funny story, because I'm not going to go into serious crap, but
No.
we were sitting on an ambush site on a river. We had some intel that a couple of VC were going to come down the river in a sampan, which is a dugout canoe, basically. But anyway, they were coming down the river, and we didn't think, because it was getting toward daylight, we didn't think that they were going to actually come down there. So you're sitting in that muck up to your chest, wading in the water all this time, and it's just miserable. Yeah, you want to actually get somebody because you've been waiting there so long. But anyhow, they finally did start coming down the river, and we opened up on them with automatic weapons fire. And you got to stop, because when you're shooting at the water, you get a lot of spray from the bullets. And you can't really see your target, so you got to stop shooting. And so we saw one guy he was face down and floating down, so we knew he was dead. But the other guy was swimming across the river going to the other side. So we kept shooting at him, and then we had to stop, and then we had to shoot again, and then he had to stop, because you get to see, oh, there he is, and then he finally made it to the other side, but it's all muddy, and you move slow in the mud. So the officer said, cease fire, so he ceased fire, and he turned around and he looked at us, and he's waist deep in mud. And he started yelling at us in Vietnamese, and then he beat on his chest, stuck out his arms, waiting for us to shoot him. And we applauded him instead, and just all started clapping. He turned around and just disappeared into the jungle. And we figured, what the hell, through all of that, and he still made it. We let him go. Fuck, who cares?
That's awesome. Good stuff. Yeah. And you said you were there in 69, right?
No, I was there in 1971.
71.
72.
Okay. Yeah. What my uncle talks a little bit about it, and I couldn't imagine. Like I was in Iraq, but like me and a buddy of mine talk about it. It's nowhere comparable to Vietnam. Nowhere comparable.
Well, it's different. It's different topographically. It's different. It's just you got jungle environment, and then you got mountain environment. You guys are up in the mountains in the wintertime. You're freezing your butts off. You can get cold in the jungle too. And it drops down to 80 degrees, and you're soaking wet, and you're freezing. And it's hard for people to imagine that, but you do.
Yeah. What was it like being a instructor after being a SEAL operator and then going back and teaching people about it? How was that like?
Boring.
What was that? Really?
It's just, you're an operator, and I volunteered for every mission. At that time, in my time, I don't know if I still am or not, but in my 23 years of service, I deployed 17 times. And it wasn't Vietnam, it was El Salvador during the war. It was in other countries that I won't talk about, but and of course Panama during the war there, I did that. And but like I said, there's other countries too. And so you want to be the guy in the field, it's just, I guess you can equate it to pilots, you want to be flying the mission, you don't want to be working on the plane, but it's just, the other thing too is a lot of guys have our mindset that I want to go on that mission because I don't want somebody else to take it and get killed when I could have been on that mission, and you don't want to ride with that on your back, it just, you want to be there to do it, you don't want to just say, I'll sit back on this one, and then somebody else takes your place and dies, you don't want to live with that. So you volunteer all the time, for missions. So when I was an instructor, you teach guys a lot of things. And I got in trouble for this one. It was way after Vietnam. And we were getting ready for Panama. And so there's a lot of guys that never have been fired at, been shot at, and I was trying to impress upon the officer that I was training at the time, says, you got to yell a lot louder than you're yelling because people are not going to hear you with your commands, what you want them to do during a firefight. You have to really scream loud because it's very loud in a firefight. And plus the fact all the bullets are coming at you, and you got to pay attention to all this stuff. And he goes, well, I've never been shot at, so I don't know, what to do about that. And I says, okay, I'll help you out here. There was a berm, a low level one, about 4 feet high, dirt berm, and I said, I'll put 2 guys with M60 machine guns on the other side. They'll be shooting over your heads and at the berm. Okay. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but I'll lay down right next to you. And I said, we'll go through this so you know what it's like to be shot at with near ineffective fire. So you'll get that feeling and that sense. So he goes, I'd like my platoon to go through this experience. And I says, well, because a lot of the guys, about 80%, have never been in combat at that time, and in his platoon. And I says, well, they got to agree to it. I'm not going to force this on anybody. So they all agreed to it. And I said, under no circumstances is anybody to get up for whatever reason. I don't give a damn what it is. You could be on fire and I don't want you standing up. And so they all agreed not to get up until I blow the whistle 3 times. Then it's all clear and everybody can get up. So we went through the drill. 100 round belts, and stuff, laid out the M60 machine guns. And, I blew the whistle 1 time to start the fire. So there's all this was going on. So they can hear the clack, that slap of the bullet when you hear it breaking the sonic. barrier.
Mhm.
They could hear all that going over their heads and stuff. And of course, they're getting crap from the berm, the dirt kicking up. I says, now yell to those guys over there, one back, just yell that. And I says, when you guys hear it, I want you to give me a thumbs up. That's all. So he's screaming and screaming. They're not hearing him at all. Finally, he screamed really loud enough where they did hear him. And the guy gave him a thumbs up. I said, that's how you got to yell, during a firefight, so that everybody is clear on what you want them to do and understand what their job is in that time. Because if you want to flank the enemy in something like, they got to know what you want them to do.
Yeah.
So when I blew the whistle 3 times, everybody stood up, and all that, and everybody says, wow, that was impressive. I didn't realize, what it would be like to be shot at like that. And when he got back to the base, I got called in by my CO, and he goes, what the F were you thinking to do that drill with these guys in training? I says, well, they didn't know what it was like to be shot at, and they had a legitimate, concern about it all. So I wanted them to impress upon them, what they needed to do in a drill like that and what it would be like. He goes, if you ever do anything like that again, I was a chief petty officer at the time. He goes, I will bust you down to E1 and send you out to the fleet. Yes, sir. So, but he reported me because he liked the idea and he wanted it to be continued on in training with other guys.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So the officer, I go, you stabbed me, man. You stabbed me big time.
Damn. What do you think, or do you think BUDS is the same as it was when you went through, or has it changed a little bit?
It's changed a lot.
Really?
It's changed. Oh yeah, big time.
Harder?
I think everybody likes to say that they went through the hardest training. Okay. It's a joke in the SEALs. I went through a winter class, not a summer class. I went through a winter class, and it was so freaking cold. There was 10 feet of snow on the ground. The ocean was frozen over, and we were out there swimming in it. And the BS is way up there, but everybody had a harder class than the other. That's the running joke.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is, although maybe the physical aspects of the training might have been a little bit harder at one time or another, depending on what class you're in, what year you went through. The reality is they're a lot smarter now than they were during my time. And I'll give you an example of why they really focus on the physical and the scholastics. The level you have to go through now, there's math and English is 20 points higher than when I went through. And so when they give you a test, you gotta be up there in your scholastics, because when you start calculating what you need explosive wise to blow up a bridge, to drop a building, it's not when in doubt overload. What the hell? You just throw a bunch of explosives on there, it's going to go. No, you need to know the exact amount, where to place those explosives to do the most effective damage with the least amount of explosives to drop that target. So and then sniping, it's come leaps and bounds from when I was in. Sniping has a lot of mathematics involved in it. Mm-hmm. You guys think, well, you just, zero your scope and shoot down range and drop the guy. But when you start talking shots out past 1,000 yards with a 50 caliber sniping rifle, they take into consideration the curvature of the earth too. Mm-hmm. Not just the wind, not just the humidity and all this other stuff that, we used to think about, but no, it's a lot more in depth. So the guys now, I feel, and are a lot smarter now than what guys like me were going through at the time. I would seek them out and just say, hey, tell me what I need to do. If I had to go back there today, which I wouldn't anyway, because it's a young man's game.
Yeah, sure. Want to shift gears a little bit. You also did executive protection details for SCI and the band Metallica. What was that?
SCI is a company that would reward their employees that were top performers by paying for vacations anywhere in the world that they would set up, and they would vacation there, and they would take us as security to look out for their people. Mm-hmm. And so that was always an easy thing. The hardest part was Metallica. I don't like heavy metal bands. You know, I don't like the hard rock, but head bashing music, I call it. But it just, when you pick them up at the airport, you go into a holding area, a hangar, and you brief them on exactly everything, how you want them to perform and do with you when you're with them. And so we would go to a hotel, tell them Metallica is going to be staying here. So we want your security guys to do this, that, and the other thing, whatever, you know. Mm-hmm. That hotel would not be used because they're going to leak that information out, and fans are going to pile all over that hotel. Yep. So you go to another hotel and you just make reservations under bogus names, you know, and that's it. And that's the hotel where the band will be staying. And you bring them in through the back, through the kitchen, whatever, you know, there's no grand display or anything like that. It's really low key. Well, Lars, who's the drummer of the band, I guess the leader of the band, mm-hmm. a pinhead, in my opinion, wanted every individual band member to be driven in a limousine. I said, you're making it high profile now. We got other vehicles that are bulletproof, you know, that we'll bring in. He goes, no, I want limousines. And I want us to drive in limousines and arrive at the hotel. And I said, okay, well, he's the client. So you do what the client says and what he needs, despite his ignorance. But we did that. And we had motorcade, we had police officers providing side screen protection for them and stuff like that, and lead and rear. And we arrive at the hotel and they all start going in there. So they all have their own room. Well, Lars, we were staying in Colombia at the time we were doing this one. And he was staying at the President Hotel. And he didn't like his room. He said, I want to go to a different hotel. I go, but all the rest of the band members are happy here and they're going to stay here. And we've got it all set up. And he goes, I want to go to a different hotel. You will provide my security at a different hotel. So I said, okay, fine. So went to a different hotel. Me and another guy were his chaperone. But he would come out every hour to see if we were standing outside his room. You know, and he is like a micromanaging pinhead. But anyway, we got him there. We got to the concert site, and I'll put this out for any people that are listening in here or watching this video. Lars could care less, and I'll damage him. I don't care, but Lars could care less about the people that are coming to see him at the concert. There's people that won back seats passes, mm-hmm. you know, to meet the members in the band. Mm-hmm. James stood by every one of them and had his photo taken with them and thanked them for showing up. You know, James, good guy. And the lead guitarist, I can't remember his name right now, but good guy too. Same thing. Lars, you just walk right by. You could care less, you know. And so he really upset me a lot. But the thing that got to me was this. People have these laser pointers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, God.
And you see them pointing at guys in the band. And I don't know where that's coming from. But I see it all over the guys in the band, you know, and I'm going, I cannot defend against this. There's just no freaking way. I'm not going to run up on stage and just dance, between. It's just not going to happen, So in the future, I told them, you got to have these things banned, and go through a search or whatever. But in the future, if you want to do this stuff, you got to have those banned, because I really don't know if it's a bullet designator or some guy just screwing around with a laser pen, So that was my stint with personal protection. And I told Lars, I go, we will never do this again for you. I spoke for the company at the time.
Oh, wow.
Probably above my pay grade, but I told him, I go, we're not going to do this for you, because you just don't adhere to what we're trying to provide for you in the way of protection. And anybody else that's done executive protection knows how serious it is, knows how critical your circles are of defense, and your plans and your routes and stuff like that. There's a lot that goes into it. It's not just like you see that My Bodyguard or whoever, what Kevin Costner did. It's very serious, and it's a job that is never taken lightly. It's a very professional job.
So you were on the road with them that whole time?
No, I stopped out of that because they were on their way to Spain after that. And so I did the U.S. and we did Colombia, because they were doing a world tour. And I told them, I said, we're not going to work for you anymore, because you won't comply to what we're trying to do. And I can't be responsible for you if you won't comply, and for your own safety, otherwise you don't need us. You really don't. If you're not going to comply and behave yourself, then you don't need us.
Yeah. That had to be a grueling schedule in the U.S. too, though,
Oh, it was. It really was. You get very little sleep. That's the other unglamorous parts, that you don't know about for personal protection, because you got a pre-site, that you do. A team goes ahead, and then they stay behind too, because you want to see who's cleaning up the area. So, and then the pre-setup, there's always a stage that's going ahead being set up in Spain. While we were in Colombia, there was a stage being set up in Spain that we had guys that are around there and stuff like, because you don't want anybody to plan anything or do anything or stash weapons anywhere and stuff like that. That's why pre-sites are always important to do. And and the stay behind is just for 2-3 days afterwards to see if anybody's coming, in case something didn't go off and they want to collect it or come back or whatever, So you look for those things, and it adds to your intel and to your team, to protect the guys.
That's really interesting, because I never would have expected all that went into that, to be honest
with
you.
A ton of it goes in there. I left out a lot of stuff, but there's, even when you're in motorcades, there's a lot of stuff that goes on, The guys running it like the president, when the guys are running alongside the Korean, guy, he had guys running alongside. That's just for show. That car could stop a B-40 rocket, for crying out loud. It's so well protected. But wow. It's just window dressing. They say, look how important I am. I got security guys running alongside my car.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot that goes into it. You got sniper placements, overwatch, you've got a lot of things that you look on your route, and you do a lot of route planning. You got escape routes in case the primary route doesn't go down, so a lot of communications. It's just really a lot of work. It really is.
Damn, I did not know. I'm going to see Guns N' Roses next week or in a couple weeks, and I'm sure they have all that shit going on too.
They'll have local security guys,
mm-hmm.
that keep control of the crowds, but you'll see other guys in the background that are looking, and they're constantly looking around, and their job is to protect the band members. So you'll see guys that are probably either on stage, close to the stage, or whatever, and it's just, those are the guys that are their personal protection guys.
That's insane. I didn't know all that. Well, most of the time
I will never do another personal protection detail.
Really?
Not that I can anyway, but it's not for me. I admire the guys that do it, because I'll tell you what, they're very professional, the guys that are out there that are really doing it well. And they're recruiting for personal protection detail. Just because you were in the military doesn't mean you're a personal protection person. Yeah, you know how to shoot. That's good. I'm glad you do. But there's a lot of mindset that goes into it. A lot of things you got to look for. You're always looking at people's hands. You're always looking around at the environment, the situation. It's always situational awareness all the time. You've got to be keyed up. You can't be involved with what your principal is doing, your executive, whatever. And you can't be involved in that, the photo ops and stuff like that. You're looking at all the freaking cameras, because that could be a gun too. But you're looking at people's hands all the time, everywhere, and looking around for anything that could be a possible threat.
Wow. And did you ever see anything?
No, I never did. Not when I did personal protection details, no.
So constantly you're looking at the crowd, watching people. I bet you see some dumbasses up in the crowd acting a fool.
Oh yeah.
And see,
there's a pit. I don't understand the reason why, but there was a pit in front of the Metallica band in Colombia, and guys would go into this pit. It's like muddy and stuff like that, and they'd be body slamming each other and stuff. What are you doing?
Drunk and stupid. Well, they probably
but not for me, man.
I've seen them. There wasn't no damn way I'm getting in there. You know what I mean? And I not posting or anything, but I didn't shy down from fights, but I'm not getting there with a bunch of, you don't know what they're on, PCP or whatever.
You don't. You really don't.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of individual. That's all I know.
I guess people that go to concerts take all that for granted. That's something that could really go down at one of them things.
Yeah, if it did, I'll tell you what, backpacks were searched big time, because that is the major threat. Anybody with a backpack, it's just the amount of explosives you can bring in. And if, explosives, they don't have to be very big. It can be about this big, that big around, whatever, wrap ball bearings around it, nuts and bolts, nails, whatever you want to do. And you can kill a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so it's just why people would want to do that is beyond my comprehension. But, terrorists think on a different level than I do.
Absolutely. Now, what was it like going from being a operator to a policeman? Was it just like, man, what am I doing? Or was it something you had to do?
I was a police officer in Norfolk, Virginia, and God bless those guys. Good people. And I do have a soft spot for all police officers. And what I didn't like about being a police officer was the politics. Don't like it. And but it's being a police officer is 90% laughing your ass off and 10% tragedy and just feeling bad, because of some of the ugliness you do see. But I liked it. It took a lot of self-discipline training to when you're handling someone, because I'm well trained in Aikido, but it's just, you don't want to go to the bad, like you're not in the military anymore. This individual does have rights, Fourth Amendment, you got to watch yourself. So, how you handle someone, is really different than what you would do in the military. So you got to break that mindset, and you got to come down several levels. And they have this thing called the force continuum, and where the low level, you're just officer presence, you're talking to them, and you're trying to control the individual because you got a uniform, and and you always watch that person, and because he can escalate it in a heartbeat. You can go from level 1 to level 5, in a heartbeat. But I found that most of the time talking is the best thing. And I walk up to guys on cars, and that's the most dangerous thing, because even though you got a vest on, your face is not protected. The guy can pull a gun, just blow your head off. That is the most dangerous time for every police officer to walk in, and domestic disputes to go to. And because, if when a cop pulls you over and he's walking up on your vehicle, he's looking around everything. It's always situational awareness. You know, he'll touch your car to leave it, you know, his prints on there and stuff, you know, for later. But and he'll always try to stay back just a little bit to make you turn more in the window, you know, so that he's watching you, you know, and he's watching your hands. And that's why he doesn't want you to reach into the glove compartment, reach down between your legs to sit, you know, center console, whatever, you know. Don't do those things, you know. Just do what the police officer says, you know. And I'd be very nice to him, you know, all the time. And a lot of police officers are this way. There's some idiots out there. There's idiots everywhere in the world. But how I reacted to them is how they reacted to me. If they were respectful and nice, I was the same way. And most of the time I would run their tag or their license, and if nothing came back, I'd say, have a nice day. Just take it easy. Don't go so fast, you know. Get your tail light fixed, whatever. Sorry, I gotta laugh. There was a guy I pulled over. I was going through training. I was with my field training officer. And he goes, Billy, sooner or later, you got to write a ticket, you know, because it's officer discretion. There was no limit, you know, that you had to write so many tickets a month, you know, but so it was always officer discretion. So I was letting people go left and right, you know, because, hey, that badge didn't go to my head, you know. So anyway, I pulled over this guy. He had a burnout taillight. And so I walk up to him. He's 98 years old. And I asked for his license. He goes, I don't have a license. I go, would you forget it or something? He goes, no, I've never had a license. I've been driving all these years.
Oh my God.
He's probably been driving before there was license. But anyway, I said, well, get your tail light fixed.
See ya.
My field training officer goes, Billy, you got to write him a ticket. I go, no, I don't. This is officer discretion. And I'm not going to write him one. And he's 98 years old. Come on.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But that's the stuff I mean. 90% of the time, you're really laughing your ass off. Some of the things you see are just hilarious. They really are.
Now, key point, and I don't know this, and I'm probably an idiot for asking, but where you said he comes up, the officer always, and I've watched him, I've seen him out of the corner, you know, because I'm watching him come up as, you know, I've got close several times, and you see him touch the car. Now, why is he leaving his fingerprint?
He's leaving his fingerprints because later, if you do shoot him and happen to tragically kill him, there's prints on the car that prove that you were there or that car was there anyway. But so when they go over the car and they know what this was, because you're being filmed anyway. The patrol car had a camera in it. We didn't have cameras at the time. Now people have, you know, the officers wear body cams, but the car is recording everything, you know, so you see that and they can't get to the recording. But anyway, later on they can definitely, because at night it's tough to see the color of it or whatever because the lights are flashing. It may look a different color and everything, but the prints don't lie. They're there.
Gotcha. No, that was interesting right there. Because I've noticed they always touch like the top of the car.
Yeah, they'll touch several spots.
I kept thinking, why, you know, because I've been pulled over several times for just speeding.
Hey, so have I.
And they do. And I'm like, why is he fucking touching my truck? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or tap it, you know what I mean? And I'm like, makes sense now. But I can honestly say I've never had a cop draw on me. And I've always been open with them. I'm like, hey, you know, I keep my hands on the steering wheel and look, I got
it. Just be respectful. Do what you know, don't make any sudden moves. And you'll never have a problem with an officer. You really won't.
Yeah. It's kind of it's no brainer. You know what I mean?
It is.
Stigma.
There are some bad cops, you know, there really are. There's some, they got that badge, you know, and it's their heads out to here, you know, and I am the law, you know. And I'll tell you one bad cop that I was aware of that got fired. He was an auxiliary cop. He wasn't a cop all the time. It's just when you get low on people, usually they're hired on during holidays and stuff like that to help out. And so he was an auxiliary cop. And this lady was speeding with her son. And he pulled her over. And she stopped. I don't know why she would have, but you'll understand when I explain the story a little bit better. But when the cop pulled her over, he says, "You're a speeding." She goes, "Yes, I'm racing my son to the hospital. He fell and he hit his head and it's bleeding." She had to rag on there and stuff like that. And he goes, "Well, I'm going to write you a ticket." She goes, "You're going to write me a ticket? I got to get my son to the hospital." He just said, "Well, tell it to the judge."
Good Lord.
So she showed up in court, and this is where all of us, the police officers, are up in front. We all heard this, and we're shaking our heads like, "Oh my God, you idiot!" You know. And the judge, when he listened to her, he said, "Is your son okay?" He goes, "Yeah, he had 32 stitches in the head that he needed."
Oh my God.
She showed him the doctor report and everything, and he said, "We're going to adjourn. Officer, come with me." When he came out, he had no badge, no gun.
Wow.
He was done. He had his ass fired. Got the chief on the phone with him and said, "This guy is never to be a police officer, ever."
Wow.
So, yeah, she told the judge.
I'm
So
sure
you do have idiots. They're everywhere, in every company, every organization. Nobody's safe from idiots. I mean, SEALs, we had them. Everybody's got them.
Oh, we definitely had a fair share of them in the Army. Oh God.
The thing is, though, in the Army, you know who they are.
That's true.
Civilian life,
sometimes you wish you didn't know. So, you've carried guns your whole life. Do you carry now?
Pretty much. Yeah, I do.
What platform?
I've got my father's shotgun that he had since I was 13 years old that I've modified, and I've got 6 Hour 9mm and a 6 Hour 380 for the wife, and that's it for weapons in the house. I don't have a crap load of weapons, but yeah. Then I got about 2,000 rounds of ammo.
Awesome. Do you go out shooting at all, or just kind of done with all that kind of stuff?
No, I don't shoot too much anymore. I'm a little bit handicapped in that area right now because I've to get to the medical side, I've got what they call mefloquine toxicity, and it's the malaria pills that we all take. And mefloquine is no longer recognized by the Food and Drug Administration as a safe drug to take for malaria and for anti-malaria. And although it is sold in third world countries and distributed out there, drug guys got to get their money. But a lot of us, there's 6 SEALs that I'm aware of now that have the same thing that I have. And although I got mine when I was in El Salvador, because I was in El Salvador for 2.5 years during the war down there. And it just affects your nerves. You get shakes and stuff like that, and dizziness, and you can pass out unexpectedly. And there's 6 SEALs that are like that right now. One of them passed away, but you got really bad. So I love to shoot. There's nothing better than shooting to relieve stress. I really enjoy that. But I don't do that anymore.
Wow. So after retiring, you live in Florida. What's like? What is your life like now?
I sit out with my grandkids and I enjoy life. It's the best. It really is. I'm at peace with all my demons, so I'm happy.
That's awesome for you, man.
Yeah.
Got a couple more questions. I'll let you go for the day. And
sure.
What's your best life experience?
Marrying my wife, without a doubt.
Great.
And I'll say this in all sincerity, because wives in the military are the glue that keep families together and keep, they take care of the bills. They take care of everything when you're gone, And she's my hero, and she's actually saved my life 3 times. I had a heart attack once, and she did CPR on me. So she must love me. She brought me back. So but she's really great, and she's my best friend, and that's been the highlight of my life. I could say, giving birth, I didn't give birth, my wife did, but to my son, but he's made me proud too, but definitely my wife, that was the best thing. I met her after I came back from El Salvador in 1985, and she 2 weeks later, she proposed to me. I would have asked her after 1 week. So 36 years later, we're happy.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. Congratulations, because
yeah, thanks.
Sometimes it's hard to be married for a couple of years. You know what I mean?
It's hard to be married. It takes a lot of work. It really does. Believe me, I've heard it all. There's no such thing as a perfect marriage. It does not exist. But if you want it to work, you got to work at it. You both have to do it.
Absolutely.
Can't be one-sided.
A couple more. What was your favorite country that you have been to, and why? Outside of America.
I would say
U.S. I'm like, yeah, well, no shit.
I'm torn between Australia and Thailand. Thailand, I was there in my young days. We vacationed there with the family one time too, go back. But Australia, because it was just a blast. The guys, I was working with the SAS, Special Air Service. They are the best I have ever seen in my life to have fun with. They're good operators too. And but I'll tell you what, when it comes to jokes, practical jokes, pranks, whatever, these guys they're way above my level. They really are. They're good guys. But the beauty of the country is extremely cool. I just love how it is. They have desert, they have tropics, they have it all there. But Thailand, I love because of the food and the people, the culture. The people are so friendly. They're so nice. They're very respectful, and it's just an amazing culture there.
Yeah, my father built a house there, and he was there for about 5 years, and he's came back, and bless his heart, he had a stroke, and he's been, trying to deal with that, but he's finally got his movement back. But he's talking about going back to Thailand now.
Yeah,
but I don't want him to go back, but he's
understood. Grown. But it is beautiful there. It really is. Put that on your bucket list. Thailand's a good place to go.
Absolutely. You wrote a book. Yes. I'm not sure I just got it out when we were talking in the lobby. You want to describe your book? What's the title of it and where they can go and get it?
Let me do this real quick. Excuse me.
No, you're fine.
This is my book.
Awesome. I'm going to have to get a copy. Read it.
Okay. The book is all true stories. I changed everybody's name except my own because I didn't want paybacks to continue. And anyway, it's all practical jokes. It's all funny stories. Guys like us and people that are police officers, firefighters, people who work in the medical field, things like that. I didn't feel like, after working and after combat, I think I'll open up a book about combat, and start reading about combat or tragic stuff, and I don't think a nurse goes home and starts reading up on, let's look at some gore here, So anyway, I thought I would do all the funny stories that I've heard about and was part of through the years being a SEAL. So they're all. The book is not politically correct. It's I don't cuss too much in it, I don't think, but they're all short stories. My wife calls it the bathroom book because chapters are real short, and so that's where the first book I had made that's where it's at right now. She reads it off and on.
Awesome.
It's all funny stories though, all of it.
Oh, that's great. Now, can you get it on Amazon?
Yeah, you can. You can go to Amazon.com and you can get it there.
Awesome. I'll also put that in the description with a link. I'll put your book
I
link.
appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you want to laugh your ass off, some of it is like college humor, and I don't know. I've had some reviews, great reviews, by the way, a ton of great reviews, but I've had some bad reviews, and I think it's by people who are non-military and they don't really understand. But I tell them, when you go to the Amazon.com page, I say, don't buy this book if you're offended by not politically, the book's not politically correct. If you're offended and you don't like the military and you don't like dark humor or gallows humor, don't buy this book.
Yeah.
You won't enjoy it.
I can't wait to read it, man. I've recently, before, I don't know. I don't know if you know Tom Satterley. I bought his book and I read it and I couldn't put the book down. And before that, and this is no joke, and I'm ashamed to say it, but not ashamed. I probably read 4 books before that. I just hate reading.
Yeah, and reading is a pain in the butt.
It is.
I'll agree with you on that. If you're into rejection, try writing a book.
Oh God.
I'll tell you one story real quick from the book. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's like I said, it's all funny stories and they're all true. There was a guy, I'll say his name now because he died, but Leonard Riley. He was a good friend of mine, and we were in El Salvador together at the time. Now, Leonard Riley was a very vain person. He was losing his hair, and he was doing everything, buying all these products to stop, hair growth tonic, everything that he could to stop loss of hair. Well, while we were in El Salvador, I went out in town and I bought some neat hair remover. And I took all his bottles of hair growth tonic and I dumped it into that. And so the next day he comes into my room and he goes, I'm losing all my hair. He's got hair in his hands. And I said, you know what it is, Riley? It's your nerves. You're getting affected by their nerves. Go to the doc and get some tranquilizers to help you sleep at night, and you won't lose your hair. He goes, you think that'll work? I go, oh yeah, definitely. So I told the doc about it. So he gave him placebos. He didn't give him, tranquilizers. I never told him until we got back to the States what I did to him. And he goes, thank God. Because he was totally bald. It was all gone. I told him, this neat hair remover, man. So he was happy. He stopped using all that hair growth tonic that he brought back. And so it's just crazy.
Some nair.
It just got me because, big deal. You're losing your hair. So what? It doesn't define who you are.
Exactly. Yeah, man. Some guys they love that hair, man.
I know.
I used to have when I was in racing. You gotta match the role. You know what I mean? It's a based sport. So I'm trying to look all fly guy and shit. Now I'm just shave it bald. I don't care. You know what I mean? It's whatever. It'll grow back whenever.
I know.
But yeah, man, you've been awesome on, man, and I'm glad you shared all your stories and didn't get nothing deep, which I don't like to anyway because it's no need. But man, your whole vibe was great, man, and I enjoyed having you on.
Thank you.
And I want to read your book and
you're a great interviewer. I appreciate it. You make me feel at home, so. It's like I'm right there in your office with my feet up on your desk.
Yeah. Man, if you ever want to come to North Carolina, I know you love the state of Florida, but if I'm ever out.
Come on down here, too. You're always welcome by my fire, man.
Absolutely.
We'll share a beer.
Thank you. And I'm, like I said, I'm honored to have you on, man. And, I started this. I woke up one day, I'm like, I'm going to do a podcast. And it's kind of evolved. And I thoroughly, thoroughly love it, man. I've enjoyed doing this kind of stuff. So. Good and deal. Having someone like you have been, a pleasure. Such a pleasure.
Oh, it's been a pleasure being on. Thank you for having me. It's been an honor.
Yes, sir. I'm going to end the broadcast, but don't go nowhere. I've got to ask you one last question.